Now stop, keep it coming up, keep it coming up. Don't stop it now.
Greetings, how are you guys? Appreciate the music introduction there. It's a little different for me. Anyway, so first, just a quick little bit about Velti for those that you do or don't know. Velti has a global footprint. We're actually bigger out of the United States than we are in the United States. We all realize that the United States is probably one of the most sophisticated markets when it comes to mobile as well as to brands, CPG, finance, retail, and so forth. That is definitely one of our beachheads. So overall, Velti is a global provider of mobile marketing, advertising products, and solutions that we mobile enable for both brands, agencies, media partners, as well as clients around the world. Speaking of around the world, pretty much Velti has been in business for 10 years, and some of the clients you've seen here have long-term relationships with us dating as far back as 10 years. One of the things that Velti's always looked at is the end-to-end user experience, the mobile enablement piece, but also the channel strategy for which you use mobile as one of the components to that channel strategy in terms of mobile enablement, as well as radio, TV, print, and your overlays. So pretty much a holistic approach is what Velti has always looked at. Having said that, then if we were to look at what is the current state, as we all know right now, it's a multi-screen universe. If you look at how many folks have cell phones, I think the last number is there's 6 billion cell phones out there, so that's more than TV and any other kind of media, print, radio combined. Google calls the handset the biggest screen in the world, and it truly is. But if you look at across that, you'll look to see that 90% of the media consumption occurs in various screens. And what do you actually do in terms of learning, taking these devices and interacting with the devices that the consumer does today? Then it becomes quite an interesting paradigm and challenge for what are the right channels to tap into your customer audience from the various channels. On top of that, you also have growing customer expectations today. Things such as instant gratification, they want to be recognized. They also want to be valued, from a loyalty perspective if they are interacting with you. They want to be informed. They're looking at how to comparison shop and also the social ramifications of what happens in terms of all-channel strategy. So if that's the stage, and I apologize, I think I should have. Okay. So moving to the challenge then. If you look at all the cross channels that we have here, and you look at a cost spectrum, you'll notice, of course, that SMS is probably the cheapest way to go. But is SMS the right, channel specific to our market? I would argue that no. The United States has the highest proliferation of smartphones in the world. You look at the advancements of apps, so you see more sophisticated interactions. So if you kind of move back left from highest to lowest, you'll notice that the app environment at a higher cost, but nonetheless the app environment and the browser environment is an area where channel strategy here resonates in the United States with more of the end users. But nonetheless, an interesting slide from the perspective of, with all the phones in circulation, all the mobile devices and everything out there, we have quite a various number of ways that we can interact with folks, various channels, and also various times of day and various opportunities with your customer. So having said that then, can we create an effective multi-channel strategy? And the answer is yes. There's not one best channel strategy, but really what you're seeing here is you have different economic constraints based upon your target base. You also have different understandings from consumers. So multi-channel strategy is probably multi-tiered as well within the multi-channel in terms of what are the best levers to actually address your audience, your target audience, as well as your current base. So what is an example of an approach here? If you look today at some of the spending against the various media out there, if you look at print accounts for about 7% of the time spent. People view print, yet it's 25% of the spend of a typical marketing, if you will, campaign program. If you look at radio, the numbers there are 15% view, 11% spend. If you look at TV, the lion's share, 43% time spent with a 42% spend. Now let's look at internet in general. You've got a 26% view, ever increasing. but you have a 22% spend. So this is the first time you see the reverse. Well, actually, it's a spend is much more consolidated. You could argue part of that has to do with the metrics and the performance measurements around it, so it is a much more, cost performance space, so you are getting a better bang for your buck. I would agree with that. If you look at mobile, it's double digit in terms of time spent, if not more. And yet the spend is only 1%. These are North American, USA numbers actually, in terms of more CPG-based opt-in type of campaigns. So here again, you've got a dynamic here where you've got an ever-increasing base of folks paying attention to, but the spend is still extremely small and finite. So having said that then, what do we really need to continue to look at in terms of mobile acquisition? You know, you initiate a conversation with your audience via the mobile internet, via social media, email, all the levers, if you will. And what you're looking for is accurate targeting and how that's a key differentiator even amongst itself in making a positive impact to the consumer. What do I mean by that? We're creating utility here. And the thought here is you leverage the best features offered in the various channels. So really we have a matrix that you can actually take the various components that are deemed most appropriate for the target audience. The beauty of this also is you have almost an instant feedback loop so that you can adjust almost on a daily basis, if you will, or so much on the fly to fine-tune just exactly what are the right levers that you need. So really personalize the experience to build trust, long-term relationships, understanding the customer needs and the right engagement patterns. So that's really kind of the frameworks of the utility when you're looking at multi-channel opportunity. So without continuously talk around this, let me just at least throw out a couple of samples here or a couple case studies. As I mentioned, some of these are both Velti's global, are both US-based and some are international-based. The first is the T-Mobile campaign that we constructed here. It was one of the largest gamified campaigns that T-Mobile has launched in the United States. It was free, text-based mobile game all around their 4G, where there were prizes as well as money given out all around the 4 moniker there, if you will. T-Mobile in the end called it the largest, most successful, engaging campaign that they've had to date. 60 million SMS messages with 1.3 million participants involved. So this is kind of, if you were to look at the channel strategy, this is like taking a simple program looking specific to SMS without any overlays additional to that. They did support it in market at retail, and I believe with some radio and some print. So they're again tying in some of those levers there. Looking at Amex on the other end, we're now very familiar with commercials, Citicorp and everyone else is running about using your mobile to check in on your accounts and so forth. Well, Amex was one of the early guys on that partnered with Velti to kind of bring this to fruition, whether it was app-based or whether it was alert-based. But really what it also helped to do was drive down cost of phone-in requests, call center requests, and so forth. And so what we have here is we had a 50% increase in monthly messages to clientele base and a reduction in the actually phone base of call-in centers by 27%. So not only can a multi-channel work in effect of better connecting with the consumer, but also on the back end, how to reduce costs, as you can imagine in this example here. 2 other quick examples to show you is specific to loyalty drivers. If you look at Vodafone UK, we partner up with them on a program what the Brits would call top up, but basically it's keep your prepaid service at optimal level, both from the carrier perspective and also from the consumer perspective in terms of having minutes and data available on your handset. We launched the program, I guess a little over a year ago now. 30% of subscribers for Vodafone UK participated, and of those 70% continue to interact monthly on the program. It provided targeted messaging, it provided an engagement experience, it has increased the ARPU, and again, like I said, a sustainable level of recurring revenue that the carrier can bill against, especially when you're talking a prepaid world. So this is a little more Europe-based. I would argue right now in the United States, prepaid is somewhere in the neighborhood of 5%. The lion's share that we all do here is 2-year contract on a post-paid basis, but nonetheless, learnings from here are things that we're looking to roll out even on the post-paid basis here in the U.S. The last example quickly is Macy's. From a retail perspective, we did a QSR campaign, or QR campaign with them actually, on a code right around the time they were doing their Star Designers and Shop the Collection, if you remember some of the star performers that they had around the campaigns. I think even Donald Trump somehow got in there. And so what we had done here was a QR campaign that redirected folks to watch the commercial. So there was a tie-in of taking something mobile and then taking you back to a video component to it. And then there was the opportunity to shop the collection online, so taking you back to mobile. So it is all possible and capable that you can literally go from one channel to another, back to the channel, and vice versa. But given opportunities with all those steps to interact how the consumer would like to be. So when you think of channel strategy, think of it as a spoke, but still, even within the spokes, you have open multiple doors for folks to come and go. So overall then, if we look at some of the guiding principles then as to what we're seeing here, like I said earlier, there is no really one best engagement. It's highly customizable and tailored, but what's the beauty of mobile enablement is you can do just that. You can customize and you can tailor it. Each channel has their own strengths and weaknesses. Mobile phones are, always within a couple feet of where you may be. I use the adage that someone is more apt to lend you their car keys than their mobile phone. So the ability to interact with the phone is obviously very high and very prevalent, making the device and interact with customers. So it's a very useful, engaging experience, even through simple channels like SMS, all the way up to some of the more sophisticated ones. So in trying to roll up a thought in terms of overall channel strategy, you're talking about acquiring your right customer base. It's engaging your right customers and through the right channels, and it's the results and ultimately what leads to recurring revenue, loyalty, touch points, satisfaction. Carriers all talk about NPS numbers moving up the scale. So really, at all those touch points, where's the right opportunity, and also the ability to hone in and refresh and to change the opportunity as appropriate. I believe with the Vodafone UK program, it was version 2 or 3 where we were finally at a point where we honed in on the target base that the customers both wanted, as well as Amex both wanted, and we saw the huge drop-off in customer call-ins for questions and the huge increase in terms of mobile enablement. So I'll leave you with this. I think we've got plenty of time also for some Q&A. It's interesting that when you look at the mobile channel today and you look at all the cross components in it, mobile is going to, if not already, probably be one of the most critical components of the marketing portfolio mix. I used to be a brand guy over at Coca-Cola, and when I looked at my portfolio mix, it was always, what do we do with TV, radio, print? We also had this thing called sports and entertainment properties that we used to spend $1 billion a year against. Mobile is now a piece to that, obviously. And mobile is growing double digit. My colleagues and friends at Procter & Gamble will tell you they're now spending double digit against mobile. Same with my friends at Coke. So mobile is obviously, an area that is not only perspective of the right levers, but here again, a channel that's critical. And within the channel, what are the right components that we were looking at just a moment ago? So, it's interesting. So one of the guys at Best Buy, and you may or may not know, Brian Dunn, made an interesting comment regarding brands create best experience to drive an event that increases loyalty, regardless of whether it's physical or virtual. So, and where those two blur and merge is the question today, is with the handsets and with the opportunity to engage the customer in many different touch points, does virtual become reality, and when does reality become virtual in certain instances? So I'll leave it open to some Q&A, because I think I probably went through that maybe a little quick. Has to be a question. If there's no question, that means you guys got it all completely. Yeah.
It's moving so fast, it's almost gotten to the point, it's a statement, I'd love your perspective on it, that there's times where you don't even bother building an experience on any other channel but mobile, because it's not worth it, because the audience is going to be predisposed to doing it on mobile, so you might as well just cut to the chase and do it there. What are your thoughts on that, rather than thinking?
Sure. One, I agree, it's very fast moving. Two, if I put my brand hat, like Coke or Colgate, Mobile is probably one of the most critical components, and it's also the one that's best measurable, right? You can actually extract and better understand that than you can TRPs and GRPs and so forth and so on from radio and TV. But it's not the only channel yet. Again, just crossing the double-digit line in terms of the spend for your Cokes and your Procter & Gamble's of the world is big. It's a big number. I've been in the mobile space for 10 years, and this is the first time folks are now crossing the double-digit realm. You're right in that when you say they don't spend the time, be very careful, because a brand manager like myself, if someone was pitching to me, I want to know that you are spending time building that experience across all channels for my brand. So while you make a valid point, I would argue that you're going to be pushed back from the brands in making sure. There's still a large populace out there. I'll give you a hint. It happens to be the populace that is retiring at the biggest rate that we've ever seen in the United States. But they're not your smartphone users. So you still have to address them. This is fun, exciting. Mobile to me is fun, exciting, and sexy. It's different than print. I mean, if you look at print today, I think the average amount of time people spend on print is 3 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry, did I step away? Can you guys still hear me? I have a pretty good, I can still boom.
For recording.
Oh, you need it for the recording, I apologize. Whoa, we're being recorded. Other questions? Yes?
What do you think most retailers are actually doing wrong these days?
So retail, specifically like your Walmarts of the world, Sears of the worlds, and all that. So as you may or may not know, one of the biggest pushes in retail right now is category management. Category management is, even within the stores, you have this microcosm where there is, let's say, grocery, a deli section, or let's say dry goods, the shoe section. And they're trying to manage those in a microcosm perspective, saying this is the shoe store within the store. Okay. Category management is looking to take that and how consumers can come to that particular store, get the solutions they need, if you will, the answers they want for their shoes, their food, or whatever. Mobile enablement on the retail level is still a little early on at the retail level, because retail is such an impulse, in many instances, an impulse purchaser. You're going in with a decision. So the first thing mobile's done is we're trying to do the education piece of it. I'm here, I'm shopping, it happens to be a food item. I'd like to know the ingredients in case I have dietary needs or allergy needs. So I'm now getting that off my mobile. Category management 2 is how do we overlay that with you being right there, about to make a purchase decision based upon information you have at your hands that you never had before, to make that purchase decision and or overlay that with a particular spiff you may want, whether that's a coupon or a loyalty component, something like that. So I would argue, and retailers are working at this. Walmart Labs out in the Bay Area is 150 people deep. They're working on this diligently to reach that, what I call category management 2.0, which will be able to make your ultimate decision right there at retail. Nordstrom's is an interesting perspective. I don't know if you guys have been there recently, but they're removing all the cash registers across their store. And when you walk up, there isn't really a little kiosk there to buy anymore. Most people are going to be making the purchases just like an Apple store off of a mobile-enabled device. So that will allow people to peruse, go around, buy whatever they want, and then call someone over saying, this is what I want, versus, being in a checkout line, if you will. That itself is a mental paradigm shift, I truly believe, in terms of how retailers will look at it. So Apple's smart to do that. The guy that led Apple's retail strategy is now over at JCPenney's, trying some different things there. So I would say it's not so much what they're not doing right, it's just a matter of catching up. And when you look at category management and you're breaking the store up in the specific areas that people come to the store for, I think those are the right levers that they need to continue to go after, and it's just a matter of finding the right resonance and touch points. Did that answer your question? Other questions? Yeah.
Hi, you presented a lot of mobile channels. How do you go about advising your customers on which channel is best to use for a specific campaign?
Within mobile or in or out of mobile?
Yeah, within
So,
mobile.
I mean, let's go back to basic marketing 101. Number one is your customer base, your consumer base, right? How well do you know your consumer base? The beauty of mobile and the beauty of digital is you can know them closer and better than ever before. So if you have data, rich data regarding what your consumers are typically, used to being interacted with, then that's the first lever or the first layer I would build in terms of what type of channel strategy I would put against. You saw the chart there with the channels kind of broken out by pricing. In certain markets, SMS is really about as involved as you want to get, because you not only want to provide an experience to the consumer, but on the flip side, you want to make sure that there's an ROI there for you. You don't want to provide a call-in service at $7 or more per call when you're selling a 99-cent widget. So it's kind of a balance between the financial components to the consumer experience components. And that's why I said there is no really one simple, hey, let me give you 1, 2, 3, and you only do this. In the United States, more sophisticated. In the United States, proliferation of smartphones, as I was mentioning, and the fact that we're more app-enabled. I don't know how many of you in here would be really all excited about an SMS type of campaign after having experienced the app type of environment. So a level of sophistication goes in also as to what degree of channel strategy you would use. And then also, you know, again, and I keep harping on this, probably because I was a brand guy in prior lifetime, is, you know, what are the right attributes that the brand wants to make sure the consumer step away with? That's part of the experience too. Is you know, is this experience on the mobile what the brand wants it to be? So kind of 3 layers there. Did that help? Yeah.
I'm actually interested in where you see mobile payments fitting in this picture, in this portrait. Because I kind of jotted down your list and I didn't see payments called out specifically, so I wanted to know what your perspective is.
So right now there's 33 mobile payment solutions in the United States alone. You know, you got your biggies, you've got all your credit card companies, you've got G-Wallet, Apple just launched theirs, Passbook, and so forth and so on. The carriers are also putting together ISIS, so they want their solution where actually your bill would be on your mobile bill for whatever you buy. Velti has worked on mobile payment solutions with carriers outside the United States. Why it's not here, I don't classify that specifically as a channel, right? Because that's the end fulfillment of what you're attempting to do. My goal here is to convince you to acquire you, right? And then the purchase component leads you to the payment. That's not to say that that's not integrated in here, and there isn't an experience involved in that, right? But I don't put it as a channel that I would put money against or marketing dollars against, if that helps. And even the 33 current solutions out there right now have to be whittled down to 5 or 6. You know, one of the guys who's kind of behind the 8 ball on this is Western Union. They're trying to figure out just exactly how do they take their offering and now do a payment stream. So they just opened up a lab in the Bay Area and are hiring 200 people. Now that's a good introduction music. Other questions? Okay, well, thanks again. And we've got a booth here for the entire show. Feel free to stop by with any other questions you may have or anything else you'd like to tap us into. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, George.